Kim Moe first visited our club on November 1st and has attended every Tuesday since. She also attended the District 5 Humor Speech Contest early in the month. Today is her 5th meeting, and she's giving her icebreaker. So congratulations. I love icebreakers. She's done quite a bit of speaking over the years, but found as she moved into management, tending to be behind the desk more and in front of the microphone less. She is interested in regaining and continuing to improve her presentation skills. Her goal is to introduce herself to us, have us believe that she is interesting, and getting more interesting as time goes by. Her speech entitled, Earning Interest, please welcome Kim Moe.
Thank you, Dave. Fellow Toastmasters and guests, good morning.
Good morning.
You are all an incredibly interesting group of people. I'm just wowed by how interesting you are. And what I'd like to do in the next few minutes is try to convince you that I too am interesting and therefore worthy of inclusion in your group and in your hearts. But I have this fear that I'm really not that interesting. But you know, the last thing I really want to be is identified as a person of interest. But what I want to do in the next 4 to 6 minutes is tell you about my very uninteresting start, how that changed, and then finally close by showing you hard evidence that I have gained interest over time. So I'm not like this man, the most interesting man in the world. Have you seen him on the Dos Equis commercials? I seldom drink beer, but when I do, it's Dos Equis. And he's always, you know, doing the James Bond thing and in an exotic locale. I just can't compete with that in terms of, you know, on the interest meter. I started very uninteresting. I was born in Texas. I moved to Southern California really before I learned how to say y'all. And I've been in Southern California ever since. I graduated from high school from a school here in the county that's known as the most southwesterly high school in the continental United States. So it was 3 blocks from the beach and a stone's throw from the Mexican border down in Imperial Beach. Then I went to San Diego State, got a degree in psychology, and University of Redlands, I got an MBA. And so by the time I was 30, I had 2 degrees, 3 kids, 2 dogs, mortgage, and a husband. But not necessarily in that order. The next 20 years I spent in the testing industry. That is, I worked with student achievement testing and the tests that the kids take once a year in school. It's a very technical industry, a lot of statistics, psychometrics, and data analysis. And as part of that, in sales and in sales leadership, I gave presentations a lot. In fact, I presented in every state capital in the western United States, including Honolulu, Alaska, Honolulu, Hawaii, and Juneau, Alaska. But was I interesting? One time I was on a business trip and I had dinner with a colleague and he said to me, so what are your interests, Kim? What are your hobbies? What do you do other than family and work in your spare time? I said, you gotta be kidding. 24/7 of my life is either family or working. I don't have time for hobbies or interests. And he said, no, you must have, you know, interests. What do you do on weekends? I said, on weekends I do grocery shopping and laundry and packing lunches and cooking and things like that so that I can work all week. Now, you gotta know that this man that I was having dinner with is he was very accomplished at his interests. He was a distinguished Toastmaster, and he was in an international study group all about Sherlock Holmes, and they researched and gave studies and wrote papers and very, very into his hobbies. But I didn't really have any hobbies. What I did do is I was a soccer mom, or Little League, or baseball, or karate, swimming, cheerleading, whatever happened to be the activity of the season. And I did just enough scrapbooking as my kids were growing up so that they can look back through the books and see that they had an interesting childhood. So I heard on the news recently that there was this research study that discovered that women who did the whole family thing and did the whole career thing and tried to do both well were prone to feelings of guilt and stress. Anybody understand that? I couldn't believe it took a research study to show that. That was me. But then one day recently, a couple of years ago, I found myself with no kids at home and no job. And I thought, wow, this is a great opportunity to reinvent myself. Not that I didn't like what I had been doing, but it was time for a change. And it was wildly interesting. I was helping my youngest register for classes at Maricosta, and the next thing I knew, I had signed myself up for 12 credits. I took Italian, art history, and enology and viticulture. That's growing grapes and making wine out of them. And there I was, a couple of weeks later, on my new Vespa, on my way to my Italian class with my leather jacket on and sunglasses, scarf flying in the wind. And I looked in the rearview mirror and I thought, who is that woman? She looks interesting. So I had lost 40 pounds. I started running 5Ks. I went to Italy by myself for a couple of classes. And had gained interest along the way, I think. And so finally I told you that I would give you hard evidence of my gaining interest over time. And so I was looking at my checking account balance the other day and found out there it was in black and white. I'd earned 11 cents interest. So it's not quite enough to pay for my ums and ahs, but you're helping.